Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back to the basics. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at PocketJackComics.com, who have books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily, and you can find their books on Kickstarter, local comic shops. Obviously, I mentioned their website already. If you just type in Pocket Jack Comics, you can find their books, and I promise you that you will not be disappointed because the art is absolutely beautiful, and you might also get some other stuff out of the book depending on how you perceive it, but that's completely up to you because I don't tell people how to think. That's your interpretation, is that you want to interpret those books, everybody. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Sean Wood. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited. Obviously, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got a Kickstarter going on that's funding and still
Oh, yeah.
funding because you got a few days left.
Yep.
The Fog Within, Volume 1, the trade, I guess, or the graphic novel.
Yep.
To
The
me,
trade,
they're
yeah.
the same, but that's an open debate we'll
Yeah.
have on everybody else's time here. But obviously, we're going to talk about that. But before we do, why don't you quickly introduce who you are? Because some people in my audience know who you are, some people don't. But I want to just let you introduce yourself properly.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm Sean Wood. I'm a writer for the past almost 3 years now, I think. I started with The Fog Within. That was my first book. I thought that was gonna be the only thing that I was gonna bring out, but I got the bug. So now I have Recon. Yeah, it's the Recon universe. The first one's called Recon the Little One. It came out last year, and I was part of Hospice season 2. My book already came out called The Scale Key, and that came out end of last year, and I just printed that out. So I have 3 series right now, and The Fog Within is my main one. This is the volume 1, issues 1 through 4, and same artists, same colorists since the beginning, and it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, so let's get into this because let's get into your book
Yeah,
because The Fog Within is an interesting book,
thank
and
you.
obviously the first 4 issues are done.
Yep.
This is the graphic novel, at least funding it. Um, so what is the basic concept for those who are discovering your project for the first time? Because I know you funded 4 issues before this, and obviously I
Yep.
stated before it's the graphic novel, the collection of the first arc, I guess. But what is
Yep.
the basic concept before we start diving into this and talking about it? Because it's kind of an interesting one, and I don't know if you've seen the show Between on Netflix, but similar to that.
Yeah, yeah. So the Fog Within, basically how it started was, and how I even became a writer. I was on a run. I'm a runner, but that's what my medal's in the back. And I was on a run one day. There was some fog, and I just had the random thought, as you do when you're doing longer runs. What if I ran through this fog and ended up somewhere else? And so the whole idea came from that. I've read comics my entire life, and always wanted to be a writer, and I just figured out from there. But the idea of the book is Hunter is the main character. He was on a run, like I was, and basically there's a cataclysmic event in the present. He has an argument with his wife, his newly married wife, and he goes on a run to cool off. He runs into some fog, ends up 26 years in the future, right outside of that fog. Doesn't know how he got there or what happened, and everything. And come to find out, that cataclysmic event that happened caused an infection. The government didn't know what to do with this infection, so instead of helping the people of this town called Brooks, they actually wall up the city. There's a regime that goes into place and takes over and oppresses everyone. Rebels come from that, and they've heard about this prophecy over the years that something is going to come from this fog, and so they're sort of waiting for him to come out. They don't know where or when, but they're ready to grab him before our swarm soldiers attack, which is the regime's soldiers. And then they try to train him up, and they look up to him in these issues. And he's trying to figure out where he belongs, and why he's there, and what he can do. And he realizes the fog he ran through is from within, hence the Fog Within. So,
So let's break this down a little bit and talk about this
yeah,
because this bit gets interesting, right?
yep,
Is that obviously 26 years didn't pass for him.
right,
A matter of seconds passed for him, but 26 years passed for everything in his own life, for
yep,
lack of a better word. I'm not too sure if it's even his old life because he still has his whole life to live, but his old world is now 26 years older. He's
right,
now not part of that, and every event that has happened. for the last 26 years, he's emerged out scratch free for the most part. And, now it's this whole culture shock thing going on. This
Yeah.
whole division is still in existence where this city is cut off from the rest of the world, probably still to some degree. I don't
Yep.
know if the infection is still in effect or exactly what happened, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. And so
Yeah.
what is that like? Because it's an interesting setting, right? Because and then it's even 3 years also passes also, I think, at some point early on in this, from my understanding, because he's 26 years and then he goes through like a training montage. And
Yeah.
then like
It's a short montage of training for sure. So it's really like a couple weeks, a month maybe. These 4 issues. So he's learning about it. So he's getting better and better and realizing the power within and everything, learning how to fight and that kind of stuff. And by the fourth issue, something happens. Actually, the third issue, something major happens, and he realizes he doesn't want to hurt this new family that he's coming to love, and he feels obligated to go after the bad guys on his own, and craziness ensues because of that. And he thinks he can do it because he has this ability, and quickly finds out he's in way over his head. And by the end of the fourth issue, he needs a lot of help. Let's just say that.
because it's really an interesting back, I guess, position, right? Because that's what's so interesting about this is that like obviously he's also now has a responsibility, and that's what's so interesting about your whole book is that we're going into the future. He is a hero in certain ways, and he has powers, and he's discovering that he has these powers now, and
Yeah.
that's what's so interesting. And then it's this whole idea that like he wants to oppose, not necessarily because I don't think the regime caused the infection. I don't
Right.
think that's the issue per se, but they're the ones in power. They're the ones suppressing. They're
Mhm.
part of they're part of a different problem. I feel
Yeah.
in your book, versus the infection is one problem, but I don't think that's the focus of the story, from my
Right.
understanding.
Yeah.
It's the
No, you're right.
idea that now you're 26 years in the future, everything you knew, loved, and you don't even know where your loved one is, that your newly married wife is. You
Yep.
don't know if she remarried. You don't know if you have slightly next of kin. You don't know what happened to your parents, any of that, right?
Yep.
And now you want to deal with this regime, and I think they want out of the wall. I mean that's the natural progression, but like that's what's so interesting. There's so many things going on that like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's this idea of like opposing suppression and freedom and dealing with this whole thing. I mean, I don't know how to describe your book,
Yeah.
but it's like it's complicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I wanted to really do with my first book, which for one, I took on a lot more than I realized at first, because this is a crazy concept to start with. It wasn't your basic like 4 pager finish a story kind of thing. Originally it was going to be a 12 issue, and it should still be a 12 issue whole book. But yeah, it's crazy to start this way. Let's just say that. But time travel, that makes it complicated too, but it also makes it fun because you can play with characters that you sort of see like flashbacks of in the issues. Because I don't go too much into the present time; it's more just the future, and then there's flashback reasons to bring up things and have aha moment kind of things. But they are characters. His wife is in it. He hasn't really seen her yet, but she is in it slightly, and she becomes more involved in issues in the future as well. His like the bully that he dealt with in high school is in it, and his friend and stuff like that. So there's characters that he knows, but they're way different than they were when he left. So that makes it interesting. But the biggest thing I wanted to do with any book was I love world building. So I had this whole world that I wanted to build, and then I did the script from there. So this walled in area helped me focus on a very specific area versus traveling around or the country or whatever. Just focused on this and then building that very specifically.
Because let me ask this, because I don't know how big is the walled-in area that the government essentially walled in, right? I mean, is it a 10-mile radius? Is it a 100-mile radius? Is it
I
like
wouldn't say it's a
50 miles?
100-mile radius, but it is fairly big because there's also like a desert kind of area where the rebels are. That's outside of it. It's where the cataclysmic event happened, basically, and everything went to dust. So they're in that area, and there's also like the city area. So it's fairly big. There's plenty of room to move around, but they're definitely in this walled area and they can't get out.
Because the reason why I bring this up is that once, because you could create. I mean, we take New York City. If you walled in New York City,
Yeah.
that's a big enough playground for anybody,
Oh yeah.
especially if you did the whole like five boroughs, or even if you just took Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, right, and you walled those three things in next to each
Right.
other. You have a huge playground to play in.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, huge, right? Let alone if you have 50 miles to play with, which is much bigger than Manhattan, that's even bigger, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, this is where I find this to be so fascinating about world building is that, but I don't think you're going outside the wall in your story by much ever, from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
understanding. At least not yet, you're not. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't, but like, that's also interesting too, because if you have 50 miles to play with, and I'm just picking the 15-mile radius for it's an easy round number, and feel free to tell me if it's smaller or larger, but the idea is that you have a lot to play with that, but you also don't have to deal with the whole United States.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know if you've ever read DMV.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love DMV. DMV is brilliant because it's New York City, and it's just the island of Manhattan for the most part.
Yeah.
Great book, brilliant, right? There's two things in that book that get me. The subway graffiti thing, where the guy's getting extradited out, and he painted for like 6 years a mural on the subways, and he finally
Oh,
gets caught.
yeah.
He's being helicopter lifted out. Brilliant, brilliant writing. Not essential to the story, but it was like a one shot in the DMV story. And the other one is the sniper who's communicating with his girlfriend who's in Jersey through sniper
Mhm.
calls. Such good writing. But the point is that I find it fascinating about the world building because it's so interesting when you keep a world big but also small. Because
Right.
this is very much a microcosm world, but it has a
Yeah.
lot of parts in it. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah. And then it's its own character too. Doing it that way, I think. So it's one of the main characters is the area. It makes it interesting. Plenty of stuff to do with it for sure.
And then you mentioned something else that's also really interesting is that I don't think in the first four issues and the first volume that you're releasing, you're funding on Kickstarter, that we really deal with people from his past who are still alive, who are 26 years older and
Yeah.
26 years hardened. Because I would imagine, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong here, is living in a walled off society is probably not the easiest life in
Yeah.
this new regime.
And
And
yeah. I would say even for the people in power, just because they're in power doesn't mean that they're not stuck just like everybody else too. So, like in the second arc that we actually just started issue 5 on the art and everything while we're live with this, and yeah, that story is going to tell you a little bit more about the guy in power, Damon. So I didn't go into too much detail in the first 4 issues, but now we're getting into like a little bit of understanding him, because you got to understand the bad guy too. You can't just learn about the heroes. You got to understand everyone's reasoning for what they've done. Their justifications of doing this bad deed or this good deed or whatever to create who they become in the future. So.
because it's so interesting because this is where it gets really, really fascinating is that it's like if you're dealing with somebody, because I don't know, how old is Hunter? Just curiosity.
Yeah, so he's early 20s. So being 26 years in the future, he would really be, around 45, 46, 47, something like that. But yeah, he's not. He's still the same age when he first got married. So
So obviously, I mean, his wife would be, 47, 52, whatever the number is,
yeah, yeah,
approaching 50s or in your 50s, approaching 50, whatever
yeah,
that number amounts to. And there is a big difference. And I don't know if I mean, I'll just ask it this way is that when I was 20, I had a different way of thinking than when I am 33.
yeah.
So I just turned 33 January 10th. And when I turned 30, though, 3 years ago, my thinking was very different when I'm 30 than when I'm 20.
Oh yeah,
It's just because of wisdom, just because of life experience, just because I think there's more fear when you're 30 than when you're 20. Because
that's
if
true.
you fail when you're 30, it's a little bit harder to recover when you're versus when you fail when you're 20.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You're a totally different person. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I actually got married when I was 20, and yeah, 17 years later, I'm definitely a different guy than I was. I wasn't even collecting comics back then, and now I'm a huge comic nerd, and now I'm writing as well. So totally different person for sure.
But like that's what's so interesting, right?
Yeah,
And then obviously, I mean, there's just other stuff going on. There's a whole rebellion. There's a
yeah,
whole culture shock thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then also there's the idea where he shows a little immaturity. He's
oh yeah,
still 20-ish. He. I
yeah,
mean, if you're 26, I mean, I'm not saying I made horrible decisions when I was 26. I know plenty of people who made horrible decisions when they're 26, right? And
yeah,
he decides, and I'll give a little spoiler, to confront the bad guy alone.
yep. He thinks he's smart enough and he's learned enough in these couple weeks, this month or whatever, that he can take them on. These guys have been in place for a while. They know what they're doing. There's a reason why no one's taking them out of power. That they're still there. So yeah, so he's definitely in his over his head by the time issue 4 starts. And yeah, it's just craziness in issue 4 too. I had a lot of fun with that one for sure.
So obviously there's all that going on, and then I don't want to keep beating this story down because there's a lot of stuff going on in this, and yeah, a lot of stuff going on with that. But I do want to go a little bit into more of the business side of it because
Yeah,
the art that to make this is done. As far as because you did issue 1 on Kickstarter, you did issue 2, you did issue 3, you did issue 4,
yep,
and this is a graphic novel, a trade, a volume 1, a published book versus a comic or a floppy. And
right,
I think it's very interesting because in today's world, and I'm curious how you feel about this, you have to figure out creative ways how to repackage your material and also resell it because there's only so many times you could sell issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4 in floppy covers. And also, there's a point where you might not want to keep doing that because you got to
right,
keep reprinting them versus reprinting a trade.
yeah.
And so I don't know how you feel about that because, you know, again, it's just trying to figure out how to sell the same thing 10 different ways.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've started to do now, like the last year and a half, 2 years of my 3 years doing this, is trying to get in the con scene and everything. And some people prefer floppies and some people prefer trades. They won't talk to you unless you have a trade. And because they want the Netflix experience, they want the full thing. They don't want to get a number 1 and then 2 years later get the number 2, which I totally understand. So that's one reason why I'm doing the trade. Also, when I first started, everyone, all the creators that I ever talked to and still talk to, they all said that anybody can start with a number 1, but if you continue on long enough to get your own trade, then you've really like made it. You should have an audience by then. You should be able to continue on writing and doing whatever you want to do, and you have people seeing you versus that first one. There's a lot of people that do a one and done kind of comic, and I didn't want to be that if I could make it. It's tough out there.
You're touching upon something,
Yeah,
and I agree and disagree with it. So I think you could do 4 issues and have a small audience and not have the justification to do a trade at all, right?
yeah,
I don't think that it's a guaranteed thing, and just because you have 4 issues doesn't mean you should be doing a trade. It also doesn't mean you should not be doing a trade either. You
yeah, yeah,
know, I think where it gets interesting though, because I was going to ask you this, is that I think if you plop a trade on your table, it's a different statement than if
yeah,
you have 4 issues of a comic. I think it's a different statement. I think it's a different audience. I think it also, I hate to say it, is a status symbol. And I
mhm,
think it's also a statement to other creators in which that I don't think a trade, I think it's an interesting product where I like reading a trade sometimes. It's just easier. Also, it could be cheaper than floppies. And I appreciate that because if I could go buy your trade at a con for $20 and your flop, it's going to cost me 12 a piece, and you have both on the table, I'm probably going to take the cheaper option, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not an investment. I'm sorry, your comic is not an investment. It's a comic book, right? So if I want to invest in comics, I will buy an Ultimate Fallout 4, which I'm selling on my eBay store tomorrow. I have a copy, so if you'd like to buy eBay store, guys, I have an Ultimate Fallout 4 for everybody if you want it. Not the point. Shameless plugging myself here. But I think it's a statement, because I think you can sell a trade cheaper. You could sell, floppy issues in a lot of ways. I also think you can put stuff in there, and also, it's like I got a bookshelf. I mean, not behind me, but I have legit like 15 bookshelves in my house filled with books, and I like looking and waking up in the morning looking at my bookshelf.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to read the books in my bookshelf. I just want to look at my books. I feel very comfortable looking at books. It makes me feel safe. And no problem. It sounds weird, but I like autograph books too. So I think it's very much more of a statement that says, I'm here and I published this, but I don't think it's an audience position. I don't know if I agree with comic creators who say, well, you have an audience and all that. I don't think that's what a trade is. I think a trade solves the issue. I think you plop it down. It's like, okay, cool. I've collected this stuff for you. And I also think at some point you have to stop printing your issue 1. At some point you have to, and a trade forces that, I feel. And I don't know how you feel about that, because after a while, if you're on number 12, you can't keep printing out an issue 1 of your book.
No. Well, maybe an issue 1, but definitely not issue 2 and 3 and stuff like that, for sure. But yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, especially at cons. So I've only done really 6 cons, I think, so far. And I'm going to continue on with the local scene this year. So I won't go too crazy with that. But I'm trying to build up to where I will be able to do bigger cons and look legitimate. And yeah, trades definitely help with that. And once I can do more of the other series that I've got going on, the more trades, the better. And just makes me feel better too. It's crazy to see that real thick book that I've been able to create. Of course, with my team and everything too. But yeah, so like this is 96 pages. It's crazy to think of this one series. I have 96 pages of art and words. So it just blows my mind.
So this is actually an interesting question, is that obviously when DC and Marvel do it, they do anywhere from 5 to 6 in a trade. And indie you can do, I mean, I've seen indie, graphic novels books that have done, 3 issues. I've seen stuff with 2 issues in there. I've even seen 1 issue in a bounded book. It was nice. It was nice. I'm not complaining, right? But expensive, but really nicely done. But also, I mean, there is a point where it's like, I don't know what qualifies a book, right? I mean, if you have a 3-part series and then that's it. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
But like, because it raises a question, because now, and I don't know how you feel about this, is that I need value in everything I buy. And I don't need I don't need your book to go up in value, but I need to get something out of your book, right? And I think page count is a big deal. I think art is a big deal. I think extras are a big deal. I think concept of a story, like you have to earn my dollar, is where I'm going with this. And I think it's a really complicated issue, because I'm very selective now on everything I buy, and I need everything. I'm selective when I go to a restaurant now, and what restaurant I'm going to. I gotta earn my money. Am I going to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks tomorrow? I haven't decided yet. I don't know who's earning my money. Or I might go to McDonald's to get my coffee tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. But you got to earn my money, and it's the same thing with Kickstarter. And so I'm just curious, because I find it fascinating, right? Because there's no set rules.
Yeah. It's whatever you see is working well, and whatever you can bring to the table yourself, it's totally different. Like one thing that I've done, not necessarily with this trade, but in the past, we made a Lego. It's actually on the trade. The Swarm Soldier is a custom Lego. So we've done that kind of thing. I've made this right here is a handmade statue of one of my characters, Recon, the robot. So I've done that kind of thing. So yeah, you gotta stand out because there's a lot of us out there, especially now. When I started, I feel like it got crazier and crazier on Kickstarter, the more and more every month. Um, but yeah, I mean, with the trade, I've got pencils and inks and some of all the concepts actually so far with the artists trying to add different kind of pages. Of course, there's the variant cover gallery at the back, like most people do. But that's basically what I have in my trade to add to it is the concepts, the pencils and inks. I've got I think 9 pages of pencils and inks in there just to show what I see on a daily basis from my team versus what everybody else would see normally. And I think that's pretty cool to see. Yeah, yeah,
So to go into that, because you brought it up, is that like obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with Kickstarter right now. I
yep,
mean, we're in a weird time. I mean, you know, so obviously we have big names on Kickstarter. We
yep.
have big companies on Kickstarter.
Oh yeah,
Um, we have a lot of creators on Kickstarter. We have a variety of different creators on Kickstarter of levels. We have people who are excellent at it and people who are not good at it. We have issues where people are excellent with money on Kickstarter and horrible with money on Kickstarter.
yeah,
We have people who are good fulfillers and horrible fulfillers,
yes,
and then I mean we've had scams. I mean I don't know, but Kickstarter acknowledged that a scam is going around. I
yeah,
mean, when was the last time that Kickstarter acknowledged that there's a scam going around with their name on it? And then on top of that, we also have the issue where there's marketing companies that are exclusively Kickstarter belt marketing companies. And so like I don't know. It's such a beast of a company and a beast of a platform at this point because it legitly has so many moving parts. Like
yeah.
I don't even know how you manage it by definition. This is not even this is just the platform after you create your book.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I think I can't remember who said it, but there was an indie creator that said you want to be more. I think it was like 70% marketing and 30% writing or something like that, something along those lines. And that's how it feels like sometimes, honestly, because Kickstarter takes up a lot of time to make the page look legit. No one's doing that for me. It's everybody on their own doing their own stuff unless you pay somebody, and then that's more money out of your pocket that you could use towards making the book. Yeah, it gets crazy. You definitely got to be organized and set up the time to do all that kind of stuff. Cause I mean, I probably put in, I don't know, easily on each page that I've done, which is I think it's my 7th. I think there's been at least 20 hours plus easily on just making the page, just making sure everything's right,
Because I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, and this is what he says is
Yeah.
that you got to be excellent at one thing and really only one thing. On Kickstarter and to create comics, you got to run the whole show, and
Yeah.
it's nearly impossible to run the whole show. I don't care if you got a marketing team behind you; you're still running a good chunk of the show.
Yeah.
Like I in my eBay business, I am very hyper focused in certain sectors and cards for a reason, and I know everything about those cards. And the reason why is that I'm gonna die if I go outside of my bubble too much. Like I'm not in my eBay business running Pokemon cards for the sole reason that I don't want to be a Pokemon card expert. And I don't
Right.
want to learn that area of expertise. I know everything about the WNBA. I know everything about it on a card level. And I know everything about the WWE on a card level. And I know everything in baseball too. Like I'm very, very hyper focused on like 2 or 3 areas because I can't run every other area. Like I
Yeah.
rarely touch football, like here and there, but not major because I'm not interested in dying. And so like I find it so fascinating because it's so complicated
Yeah.
and it's a mind fuck. And I look at it and I tried running a Kickstarter and it's a mind fuck. There's a reason
Yeah.
why I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It's such a mind fuck because it's so impossible. And then every other creator is trying to take market share from you by definition, let alone DC Marvel are also
Yeah.
taking market share. And newsflash, Scholastic is taking market share.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
like it blows my mind is the point is that why does anybody want to do this? Like
Because you get the bug. You become obsessed and you realize there's an avenue to do it. So you got to make it work no matter what. Yeah, I don't know where I'd be honestly without writing. I mean, I got my kids involved. My son has a character in The Fog Within. My daughter is the girl in the Recon books. So I don't know where I would be mind space wise. The reason why I started in general in the first place, just writing, not even the Kickstarter aspect of it, and was because work was getting so crazy years ago that I had to have an outlet. And I was already reading books, I'm already watching movies, playing video games, whatever. I needed a new outlet to have this fantasy world in my brain to let me relax a little bit. And that's how it all started, was just the craziness at work. I broke my brain doing that, and then wrote, and then I was naive. And I'm glad I was naive, but my first book started writing, and I was like, oh yeah, nobody's doing this. I'm gonna make this my full-time job quickly. I'll be good, no big deal. And then come to find out, oh, everyone's doing this, and good luck with Kickstarter. So then I do all that research and everything too, and that broke my brain, but it was totally worth it though, for sure.
Let's actually talk about that, because I think it's hard to make money on Kickstarter. I think it's really hard to make money on Kickstarter, and for a variety of reasons. First off, getting people noticed, to notice you, and to pay attention to you, and do anything that is your stuff, and take a look at it, let alone buy it. Right. Very hard to convince people to buy things that are brand new, right? I mean, on eBay, I sell sports cards. We'll pick Jalen Brunson on the Knicks because I'm from New York and I'm in the Connecticut area. Jalen Brunson cards sell themselves because it's Jalen Brunson. And the only reason why it sells in my store is that I have good pricing on it. I make a little bit of money, and I'm reasonable pricing, and I'm efficient at shipping it out, right? Everybody, but I'm not, that card, if it wasn't Jalen Brunson and I put my own character on it, wouldn't sell. Right. So that's one reason why it's hard. The other reason why it's hard is that if you don't have bankroll, I mean, it's difficult to do it that way too. And so, like, what is that like? Because I think it's, and then even when you go up to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, the more books you sell, technically your book printing comes down. But if you have 26 variants, that eats up $15K pretty damn quickly. And I don't really care what you're selling and how you're doing it, because the campaigns on Kickstarter that to do 17, 18, 20,000, very few of them have more than 6 variants. Very few. Nothing against Lady Death, but they do a lot of variants. Nothing against, Mike Tiener from Bad Bug. And I'm not calling these people out, but like when you do a lot of variants, I mean, and if they get upset with me, Brian Flito, you get upset with me, I'm sorry. Mike Tiener, you get upset with me, I'm sorry. But those variants eat up cost. They eat up cost.
Yeah, so I do 3. So I do the main cover with my artist. So whatever you're seeing on the cover is what you're going to see on the inside. That drives me nuts too. When I buy comics at my local comic shop, I like the cover, and then I open it up and it's like nothing like it. I can't stand that sometimes. So I made sure the main cover is my artist. And then after that, I find 2 cover artists as well. So I'll have 3 all together. And that's what I typically do. On the 4th issue of The Fog Within, I did a twofer as the main cover. So if you got cover A and cover B, then you put them together, and it was the villain side and the hero side. And then I had 2 variants after that. So I had 4 covers on that particular one, but that's the most that I've done. Because it gets to be a lot of time going into figuring out what makes sense for the variant cover, finding an artist. And typically I want to find a new artist. I don't want to use the same guy over and over again. I want to find different people that I like their stuff and want to continue on with using different guys. So all of that takes up a lot of time and money. Yeah.
I'll ask you a question. So I love money. I know my finances for the most part very well. And I like to, this is going to sound really bad. I quantify issues, and I quantify artists. I quantify interviews. I quantify positions collectively. Right. Yeah. So everybody has a number on their interview, what it's worth exactly. Not everybody's equal. I hate to say it that way. And it's just sometimes, I interviewed Doug Hills, and he does a lot of work for WWE. I got a lot of content, and when I cut that thing up, there's going to be a lot of stuff like talking about a John Cena print that he worked on, right? I know that's going to be a good piece of micro content, right? So I know certain interviews I'm going to get really good micro content out of, and then other interviews, you don't know what you're going to get out of it. Or after the interview's done, it might be a 20 and Doug Hill might be an 85, right? But that doesn't mean I don't do the 20. Doesn't mean you don't cut the 85 either. It just means that what did what. And everybody has a score. I hate to say it. Every artist has a score. I don't know if you do it that way or you just say, look, I'm just going to run with it. I got a budget on this book and I could afford person X. And I think the cover is going to sell, because that's the thing too, is that you obviously want to sell your book.
Yeah.
And this is why I like using quantified number theory, because I say great. And then you compare the price, right?
Oh,
so you're not going out to get Adam Hughes.
No.
At least not yet.
Yeah. No, I got a way to go until I go for something like that. Yeah, I haven't really gone for like the huge guys, the guys that I see, in the shops, already on, whatever covers. I'm going for the ones in the Facebook groups that their stuff looks insane, that I would still love to see. I just don't know their name, and now I know their name, and just go that way. So I do have a dollar amount that I'll go for. If I feel like it's a little bit more than what I want to spend, but it makes sense and it's going to sell, then I'll go for it. I've done that for that a couple times, but for the most part, I have a dollar amount that I stick with, and I work with that.
I'll ask you a question, because I don't know how you feel about this. I feel like some of the people who were expensive are now on the market very, very, I wouldn't say cheaply, but affordable, right?
Yeah.
So like Greg Bo Watson, if you get on his list, I don't think Greg Bo is that ridiculous, right? I don't think a Keith Garvey's that ridiculous. I don't think a Marissa Pope is that ridiculous, right? And I'm not, hopefully these people, I know them, and hopefully they're not going to get upset with me. I don't think they're unreasonably priced. And I think you could make money off of their art and their covers, and be okay what they're charging, right? I think, somebody like a Jamie Tyndall, somebody like, an Ebass, somebody like, an Adam Hughes, Jay Anicoletto might be expensive. Like, I think those are becoming more pricey. Yeah. But I think like a Keith Garvey, a Greg Bo Watson, and Marissa Pope, like, I think and I would tend to think like some of those people, obviously they've done Zenescope, they've done a lot of stuff for people. Like, I would tend to think that they would be more expensive, and I don't think they are, right? So I find it so interesting, because I would expect, obviously I interviewed these people, so I know their rates and stuff like that. But, before all this, I'd be like, I'm expecting you to be this person. Like, no, I'm this person. I'm like, that's like not where I was thinking. So I don't know if you see that, because with more market and there's more supply than demand, I feel that prices have to come down.
Yeah, that and the way I can justify doing a better, more expensive cover too is if my last campaign did a certain dollar amount and it went higher than I expected, then I can use that, because all I'm doing for each issue is I'm using the last issue's money to make the next one. That's all I'm doing. I'm not actually making any profit, honestly. I'm just putting it towards the next books. How many books can I do at the same time? How quickly can I do it? Because of the funds that I got from the last Kickstarter. So if my last Kickstarter did well, I can invest in a higher cover for the next one, and then hope that I can make even more money because I invested it that way. That's my mindset anyways.
Oh yeah, I'm so different. I like taking money out of my business. I am so different. I have no problem. I like taking the distribution out. I am so different, and maybe this is why I'm not meant for comics. I don't know. Again, I get it. The 5 stages of business it's the treadmill, where you're just running on the treadmill and you're doing everything, and you got to really pump back money in. That's the first stage of business. And it's not fun. I'm just gonna say that I've been there. It's not fun. And you hope you're right. You hope you're right every single time.
Yep.
So I'll tell a story. of expansion. I don't know. Have you gone through a massive expansion?
No.
I went from like 4,000 to 15,000 to like 30,000 in a matter of like a year. It very so during that time period. It's terrible. It's terrible now. But 2024, April to July, I was moving so much capital and spending so much money in that short amount of time that I was spending money that didn't exist, it wasn't even processed, buying merchandise that was selling out that I had to buy new merchandise with money that didn't even exist. And what happens when you do that is your hair turns gray and you have night terrors.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So much money was being pumped in and pulled out and pumped in, pulled out that the transactions were occurring and weren't even processed in my bank account. So my bank account was negative and positive at the exact same time. Which is, and then and the people, and there was a teller, she was looking at my fingers, she's like, how is this even possible in our system? It should not have been possible in the system. The reason why it was possible is that bank transactions don't get processed after a certain hour at night when all of this was occurring. So the thing was clearing and not clearing and reinstitutionalizing, whatever you want to call it, or processing in the morning at 8 o'clock. So like a gram was coming out and 1,200 came back in.
Yeah.
Within like 30 minutes of each other. So essentially it wiped out and it put the account below negative and above negative at the same time. Crazy, but you have night terrors. So when you have massive expansion, you will have night terrors. That's how you know you were expanding.
Yeah.
Night terrors is when you scream at 2 a.m. and somebody thinks, and your significant other thinks you got stiff. She's like, are you okay? Like, funny now. Not funny at the time.
Right, yeah, of course. Jeez. Yeah, I can't imagine.
But it goes back to the point of just pumping money in. So. But no. This is why I'm not meant for comics. I think if I was to make a comic, it would kill me. I think it would kill me. Because I can't do it. I need a distribution out of my business.
Well, plus the way I've started too is I always heard starting out that you want to have like the funds for your first issue before you even start. So that way you're not relying on the Kickstarter money to make the book. Then you already have backers, and then they have to wait for you to make the book and everything. You want to have as much done as possible to start, to have a head start on, what you're trying to do. And pretty much every time I go to Kickstarter, I already have it almost completed.
You're touching upon something where I think where you make your money, at least, so you don't make your money in your first issue.
Yeah,
very, very few people. You don't even maybe you make your money, or you make some money on issue 3, or maybe even issue 4, or you make some money on the volume 1, the trade, the graphic novel, because the graphic novel is cheaper to produce than issue 1 was to produce, or issue 2, issue 3, or issue 4 collectively, because the art is already done. You're just having maybe to reformat it, maybe touching up some stuff, adding some bonus material in there, and then you're printing it. Because I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of the cost with the graphic novel and the volume 1 is the printing of it versus the art.
Yeah, so basically that's why my campaign is so much lower of what I'm expecting, $1,500, because that's pretty much what it's going to cost to print the book and ship it to all the backers. That's what I'm expecting, and plus I'll have extras for the cons that I'm going to do too. So that's all that I'm expecting, at least to have that base amount, and then if anything else happens, then I'm golden, I'm good. But the ones that I have for the regular campaigns for issue 1, 2, 3, and 4, I expected higher because it cost me more, way more. So that's how that goes, and it's gone well so far. I haven't made tons of money on it, but I've made enough to be able to continue. So that's what matters right now.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Again, this is, again, I find all of this absolutely fascinating, right? But I digress. Shit, I forgot where I was going with this question. No. But no, because that you mentioned something about also just, you know, having the funds readily and having your book done, because that's a big issue. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
big issue. And it's a
yeah.
lot bigger than people realize, because books are late, things happen
Mhm.
in comics, a lot of stuff happens. I don't know
Yep.
how many projects you've backed.
A little over 120, I think now. Since I started writing is when I started Kickstarter. Yeah, and I'm obsessed with everybody else's books too. So yeah, and there's definitely a couple. I think the first one that I backed, I didn't know who it was. It looked cool. They were an artist for, I think Dark Horse, and they were trying their own thing. And yeah, I just got that book like a month ago, 2 months ago, and that was like a year and a half behind. That's never fun, and I don't want to be that guy. So I've never been that guy so far. I set a time, and I hope in my mind that I'm gonna be able to get there and get it printed and shipped and everything before I even said when it would be available. And so far, I've pretty much done that too.
I will tell you my position, right? And this is just from a fan, not even from somebody who wants to look at retail, sell books, get back into that game, buy books for my eBay business. So buying books on my eBay business, that's a complicated issue on Kickstarter. Really complicated. If I don't know when your book's coming, I have clients who want answers, right?
Yeah,
So I can't buy people's books off of Kickstarter if you don't give me a time. If I buy a
yeah,
retail package from you and you're a year and a half late and somebody bought that book, I have a client who's pissed at me, and who's holding the bag? Me, because they
yeah,
can file a claim within 40 days on eBay, and I'm screwed.
yeah,
So
yeah, oh,
so
yeah,
first and foremost, that's the problem with retail on eBay, is that, a shop can't wait on your item to come in. You got to
yeah,
get me your stuff as quickly as possible. So that's
right.
one. Two, as a consumer, I mean, there was a book that was done in May, and it was supposed to be shipped, in May. I'm still waiting for my book to be shipped. And I don't know. And I mean, I'm not going to name who it is, but person's doing like 50 projects a year. And I'm like, where the fuck's my book?
Yeah, yeah,
Where
that's
the
the
fuck's my
worst.
book? And they're out on social media saying, man, we just did this. We got all this cool art. We got all this stuff. We got this sweet cover. And I'm like, where the fuck's my book?
Yeah, yeah. Oh
I
yeah, I've got
don't
a couple of
care.
those too, unfortunately.
I don't
Yeah,
care. I don't
yeah,
care that you're doing well. I don't care that your company's doing great. I don't care. I just want to read your fucking book in my hands, guys.
right. I want what
Like,
I paid for. Yeah, for sure.
because here's the other thing too, is that I put on my credit card. You only have 6 months to file a claim on your credit card. Otherwise, the protections are gone. So in
Yeah,
theory, somebody can go on. This is a horrible thing to say. In theory, I could go market my campaign, raise $6 million, not do the book, and then I could run away with $6 million on Kickstarter, reverse engineer the whole thing. It's all on a credit card. You don't have a claim, and then I'll disappear and go to Canada.
yeah, yeah.
$6 million, and Canada will happily welcome me in.
Right.
Because, and guess what, that money's gone because you can't file a credit card claim. It's really difficult to go back a year, back with your
Yeah,
credit card. It's really difficult. Really difficult.
yeah.
You have got a 25% chance of getting your money back after a year.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah,
that's the problem I have with Kickstarter, is that I can no longer wait for a year for somebody to deliver.
right.
And I don't know how other people feel about it, but I've been burned on these types of projects that it's like, you got 3 months to get me your product at best. If you can't get me your product in 3 months, I would rather buy it off your website for double the price. I'd rather buy if you're selling the book for $10 on Kickstarter, I'd rather pay 20, knowing it's going to be shipped out to me and I'm going to get it.
Right, right. That's fair.
It's a safety issue. I'd rather pay more money
Yeah,
and know that I'm going to get the product and have my credit card protection than not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's the good thing about this particular campaign, though. So, like, I've always done the funding when I said I'm going, and shipped when I said I'm going to ship it, which has really been 3 months, 2 months, what have you, after the campaigns are over. This one is done. I've done that already. The only thing we're doing is printing. Now we are doing printing over seas, so I think I have on there April, that this will go to the backers. but that's just because it's going to be overseas. It's going to take that time to get it in hand. But other than that, there's nothing involved. Otherwise, it would have been a lot quicker because I literally have it done on my computer right now.
That's crazy.
Just ready to go. As soon as I get the funds from Kickstarter, I'm immediately going to the printer. So makes it nice and easy for me and for the backers because it's stressful on my side too. Like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have that on my conscience because I'm a good guy like that. Like I would be having those nightmares like you're talking about it with expansion at night because I didn't get the backers their stuff. Like there was like the Recon statue that I just showed you. I made 3 of them, and the country that the guy is from that made it for me, he was on the ban. That country was banned of shipping to the U.S. So he had the statue made and couldn't ship it because of the ban. And he shipped it now, and everybody has their stuff. But that was stressing me out. That was the one thing that I was behind on my entire time doing this stuff. And it was driving me nuts. And the backers were fine because I was, telling them what's going on and what I'm expecting to change and to happen or whatever. And they were fine, but I was stressed out for sure.
So you I want to touch upon something, obviously, about your books. Then you're doing it overseas. You're printing a lot of these, aren't you?
Trying to. I'm not sure the number I'm going to print yet, but I'm definitely going to be hopefully set up for cons. That's the main reason why I'm doing this campaign is to make sure that I have the con books, basically.
So, because that's the thing too, is that I don't think Kickstarter is the ending point, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, when you kickstart something, you have to know the end point is not Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a complicated debate on where you should put your books, all that stuff, right? There's the traditional publisher route, and then you want your royalty, and you want an easier path into a Barnes & Noble or wherever else, or Amazon, and you want to get your 35 cents royalty per book, right? And it's somebody else's problem, and they pay you an advancement. You kickstart it, and you're hustling and selling your books yourself, but you keep all the money because your book costs X price, you sell for Y at a con, and you're doing that, and you want as much product as you possibly can get. And 1,500 books, 2,000 books, whatever you can get, because the more books you print, the cheaper it becomes, the more profit margin increases. But you're also outlaying capital as your risk, which is the whole trade-off, right? I mean, it's no secret that the more cards I buy from Topps, the cheaper the card becomes. One card is $12. If you buy 20, it's $8.
Yeah.
Big profit margin difference between those two things.
Right.
And then if I was to say to Topps, I'd like to buy 500 of this card, they'll probably give me a different price.
Yeah. And the whole thing with buying the trades, like in bulk, you're always going to have that to sell. It's never going to lose profit on that. You're just going to make it. So if I say I didn't do cons for 2 years, but I have all my books ready to go, the next, 5 years, whatever, if I did cons, I already have the books in hand. So it's not going to hurt me in the long run.
It's interesting. It's an interesting debate, right? I've had conversations with people, and I said, you should figure out how to buy. The person was doing, she was doing a trade of her first 5 issues. And I said, you should try to get another 500. If that means you got to borrow money in the short term or get a bridge loan from a bank, you should get another 500 copies of your book, because you're going to have this book to sell, and you will not have to reorder your first trade paperback again for a while, because you have it. And I know it's going to suck, because and like, I'm not here to give financial advice, but maybe you shouldn't fund your IRA or your traditional IRA but you should get more product, because it might turn out that product is worth 4 times as much as what your IRA would be worth. And these are painful decisions. These are painful decisions, and I made plenty of them. And it could go south. It could go south too. I'm just saying, it's not financial advice, but this is how I think like a CFO.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing too, the longer you wait to print more books, the more expensive it's going to be too in the future, because every year the print goes up. I mean, I've just been doing it for 3 years, and I've seen the prices go exponentially up. It's crazy.
It's printing, it's shipping. I mean, aren't the two biggest problems? So right now in comics, I mean, there's like 10 problems, right?
Yeah.
Artists have become more expensive,
Yeah.
which I think is broken, right? I actually think it's an uncorrelated their pricing with the introduction of AI art. Whether you agree or
Oh yeah.
disagree, you
Yeah.
would think that artists would say, if AI art is here, I need to figure out my pricing to not necessarily undercut myself, but I have to be somewhat reasonable because there's an alternative that is practically free.
Yeah.
Because whether you agree or you disagree with AI art, that's the reality of it on an economic level. Instead, what I've seen is their prices have gone up. And I'm like, you do realize you're forcing the alternative, right? Whether everybody wants to admit that or not, if all of a sudden somebody raises their cover price by $200, no offense, but the AI thing is looking a little bit better, and then people gravitate towards that, and they don't go all the way. But then the
Yeah.
next inch closer, now somebody says, "Fuck it, I'm all AI art,"
Huh.
because you're now $3,000 for a cover when 6 years ago you were 500.
Right. Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that's a problem in of its own right. The other two major problems is that printing and shipping.
Oh
I am
yeah.
going through this on eBay. Used to be 64 cents to ship a card, then it became 69 cents, and it became 74 cents, and it's going up again.
Mm. Yeah. It never ends, especially around the holidays too. The holidays always goes up, at least for comics. I'm sure with cards too.
It's interesting though. I could ship a CGC book. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Not that much. Put it in a medium mailer.
Email.
70
Yeah.
pounds.
Oh yeah.
Those are nice. Those are really, really nice.
Yeah.
70 pounds of perfect. Maybe
Yeah.
$12 to ship a CGC book to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that hasn't changed that much. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
I find this interesting, right? Because like, how do you deal with that? Because if each year your printing goes up, I mean, there's only so much you can charge somebody, right?
Yeah.
Per book,
Yeah.
and you can't raise your prices up by like 30% every year. I
No.
mean, and there's only so much I can charge for shipping. I mean, I can't keep passing the shipping costs onto my customer. After a
Right.
while, I got to eat some of it. So, like, I don't know how are you dealing with that? Because I think it's so interesting.
Yeah. So I've pretty much stayed with $5 or $6 for shipping for floppies throughout the time that I've been on Kickstarter, because that's what I've always heard is the golden rule. Like the price of the comic might change depending. So I've been $10 to $12 for each comic typically, and then $6 for shipping, and I won't go up just because at some point the people that are liking the book and that are continuing on with the series, you keep on going up in price, they're going to walk away too, and I don't want that. I want more eyes on the book, the better. So yeah, I mean, I'll eat the cost at some point, and it is what it is. I mean, I'm not expecting to make millions of dollars by writing comics. I wish, but I'm just enjoying the whole journey. So whatever I can possibly get out of it to continue on is my main focus, honestly. So it's not more about profit, because I know that. Well, I didn't realize at first, but now I realize going into it this long of what to expect. And as long as I'm okay with what to expect and what I think is going to happen, then I'll keep on trucking along. So yeah.
So let me ask you this also is that and I'll tell you my opinion after because I'm curious what you think. But in comics, what do you actually think is the product? When with everything in comics,
You mean like the art or the story? Which one's more important, kind of thing, or?
I'll preface the question a little bit. So I actually think that the product. I think there's a few products. I think there's the actual book, right? But I
Yeah.
also think the writer or the artist is also the product.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can go and say, look, I want to go and write Spider-Man, or I want to I want to be hired to do somebody's, script, right? I want to
Yeah.
be hired by, so there's an artist out there, or somebody says, I got this idea, or I got, somebody's an independent, video game designer, right? Say, I want to have a comic adaptation, right? You
Mhm.
as the writer in many ways could be the product. So you could have somebody who's an indie, who's works for Marvel as a writer, but is also doing something in their own projects on Kickstarter. So they're the product because somebody's coming for them as a writer. Pat Chan is a good example of this. Pat Chan for Zenescope, but then he's also doing his cheeky comic stuff or Destiny New York. And so I view Pat Chan as his own product. It sounds weird, but like he can move around to DC, he can move around to Marvel, he could do whatever he wants as a writer. Pat Chan has written Marvel novels and stuff of that nature. So like there's something to be said about all of that. And I think that there is a point where like that so I don't know how you feel about that, because I think writers, and I think sometimes people in the indie realm don't realize that you're a writer. So you're a product too, and you can make a lot of money just being a writer and writing somebody else's book. You don't have to just, and you don't have to foot the bill. You're just saying my page rate is $50 a page. Pay me.
And I'm doing that route too. So I've actually written a story for someone else, and they paid me for the script. So I'm seeing the art as it comes in. He just started doing that recently, and that's a cool aspect too. So the longer I've done my own books, the more I can market myself as, hey, I want to write other people's books too, page rate and everything. That would be great, because that's way less stressful. That's the actual creative side of things that you want to be doing anyways. You want to be able to write whatever you want to write and then, get paid for it. That's the dream for sure. Instead of doing the whole marketing thing all the time and you just want to write and that's it. So yeah, the product for sure. I mean, Scott Snyder, for instance, he always comes to mind. I'll read anything that Scott Snyder's name is on because of his name. He is the product. And then the stories, I know what to expect from those stories, kind of thing. So you hope the same thing with indie writers, and maybe you like their writing style, maybe you like their concepts, or the person just as a person in general. You want to support them because they're who they are, what you've seen out in the world, the social medias and everything.
It's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that, because we're in a time where people gravitate towards people because of who they are and things of that nature. I mean, I'll mention a bunch of people, right? There's a bunch of people in comics. EVS, he has a following because of who he is. We also have, people like Logan Paul. People like Logan Paul because of Logan Paul and who he is. We have people, Howard Stern. Howard Stern's got a huge audience that likes Howard Stern. The brand is Howard Stern. I mean, that's 3 different mediums collectively, right? And people have 3 different levels of politics. So it across several different mediums. So obviously, I mean, that's also a big thing where, there are people who watch this show because they like the guest I have and they like the way I do an interview, right? I have 903 subscribers. There are people who watch this stuff because they like the fact of who I have on. They like some of my guests, and they like the way I conduct an interview. And they like the way the show is set up. And there's people who say, I don't like this show, so I'm not subscribing. But there's fans that I have, right? Or subscribers, I'm not too sure. And I have 903 of them, maybe 902 at the end of this interview, but not the point here. But because that's where I think we're going. And I think even comics, it's very much the personality, and the person behind it is just as important, because I think you need to have both. Because I don't think we're in the old age anymore. I think the new age is who's writing it, what is this person, what is their values, how do they approach things, are they approachable, are they likable in person, or interviews they've done, are they a dick? Like, all of that matters. And then, is their book actually good? Because I'm willing to forgive a shitty book if the person's likable. But if the person's an absolute asshole and they have a shitty book, it's really hard to do it. Or if the person's an absolute asshole, but their book is unbelievably well written, again, more willing to forgive, because at least part of it is better than the other part. But if you have 2 negative qualities, you're fucked.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. We are, whether it's the artist, whether it's the writer, everyone sees the name and they want to grab it, or the opposite. They see the name, they don't want to grab it because they don't like that guy. So I totally get that.
It's so interesting, and again, I find this whole sector, and again, I'm just watching from the hill and looking
Yeah.
into the forest. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good just watching how this all plays out because this is new. This concept is new in comics, but I digress. But obviously, you got a bunch of other stuff. You got a bunch of rewards. Obviously, you get a bunch of issues. I think any issue you want, you could get issue 1. You get some back issues there. You can obviously get digital stuff. You get the whole digital creation. So if you're a digital reader and you say, I just want to read this digitally, you could get that. You could obviously get a physical copy. You could get a digital copy of it. I think the digital graphic novel has all of like the cover gallery stuff in there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. So I have like from the previous campaigns, I of course did each one digitally, but it's going to be a new file with the same thing that the file is going to be it's printed too. So everything that's in the printed book will be in the digital as well.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Sometimes digitals are different than physical copies. There are people who have an exclusive physical copy and the digital is not the same. You'd be surprised. You also have people who have a deluxe digital and a regular digital, which I don't get that either. You just give me the goddamn, like, I don't get the upcharge of a deluxe digital. I think it's all bullshit. I genuinely think you're nickeling and diming on digital files. I am fine if you want to have a deluxe physical copy and a regular physical copy. I get that, but a digital file, it's just bullshit. It's a scam. I think it's borderline fraud, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anybody can do what they want. I mean, I just think it's borderline fraud, and I think it's actually doing your customer wrong and your clients wrong by charging them an extra $3 for the extras when you should just be saying it's a digital file. I'm going to just sell you the book for $6, not for $9. And I'm going to give it to you because it's a digital fucking file. I mean, I don't like when people do bad business. I don't do bad business, and I don't really appreciate when people nickel and dime me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to be honest, so I don't have it on this one because all the extras are in the digital for the trade. But I have done the digital deluxe in the past.
I get it.
And it's because, But it's more of the guys that are doing those, that are backing those. They want to support more, but they also want to get more out of it to help whoever that they're backing. It's not more, you know what I mean? It's a give and take of both, I think.
I get it. But I think it's the wrong way how to do business. I think it's the wrong way how to do business, and it rubs me the wrong way because to me, if you want your backer to support more, then it rubs me the wrong way because I'm like, you're sending me a digital file. I understand. Like, it's the same thing, by the way, when somebody says you need to pledge $25 to get the stretch goals. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, no.
That's also really bad.
That's
also really bad in a different way. And the reason why that's really bad is that you have a $10 and so you're going to penalize somebody who's supporting you. And the point of a stretch goal is to say thank you.
Exactly.
For your hard-earned money on something that can't get into retail. And I'm going to make you spend an extra $15 so you can get a bookmark.
No, I don't do that. I totally agree with that one. Yeah, for sure.
Especially on a physical thing, because these stretch goals, that's not the problem. And if your business is predicated on stretch goals and that's where you're losing your money, rethink your stretch goals.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm gonna die on this hill with the deluxe digital. If I accomplish one thing in comics, it's getting rid of the deluxe digitals. I'm just gonna expel them. I'm gonna banish them. I'm gonna pass an executive order. That's gonna be. I mean, when I become president, you have to sign a few executive orders to make yourself president. And then afterwards, the third executive order is no more deluxe digitals on Kickstarter. In the next 4 years, we're just gonna get rid of them just like that. It's gonna be in my campaign speech. I'm gonna make it in every single debate that I run on. We bring back the Bull Moose Party. We got this thing all figured out.
Nice.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. What was it? Teddy Roosevelt? What was it? Or was it FDR and the Bull Moose Party? I forget who it was, but not the point here.
Yeah.
This is how Taft got into office, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I don't know about American history. What do I know? But I love Taft. His happiest job was being a Supreme Court justice. He was so happy. Um, only president who pretty much was in every sector of government was William Taft, Howard Taft. He was, I believe, a House of Representatives. I believe he was a senator. He was president, and he was a Supreme Court justice.
Oh wow. Yeah, I had no idea. I don't have a good Taft history knowledge for sure.
I don't even know how I know that. I just do. But my favorite president is Calvin Coolidge.
Oh yeah.
For the only reason why is that the president dies. He's up like in a cabin. His father's a judge. He's just sleeping, and then they have to drive up to find him. And we didn't have a president, an acting president, for like 6 hours. So they couldn't find him, and then they have to wake him up. And he's like, "Why are you guys waking me up?" And they swim in, and then he goes right back to sleep.
Oh wow.
Greatest president ever is Calvin Coolidge. Nothing got accomplished. It was like 3 years of peace. It was just like no legislation got passed. It was great. Just America worked.
He just left us alone.
It just took care of itself. It was like a child just learning how to crawl. It was great. It was but greatest president, because he's like, yeah, I'm president. Can I go back to bed now, guys? Like, totally greatest moment in American history.
Crazy.
But I digress. You got all of your awards. And then, obviously, I mean, I am curious where you feel comics is going, because we're in a weird time with that, too, with everything in the economy. A bunch of creators now coming out of the woodwork, trying to figure out 2026. Diamond being a mess and distribution being a nightmare. And I know it doesn't affect indie with retail, but anytime there's a problem in the industry from the top, it does affect the bottom, regardless of what people say. And it's not good with that whole issue, because it's not being solved. And I'm just curious where you see it all going, and how do you think Supergirl is going to do in the movie theaters? Because that's the real question I want to know.
Well, Supergirl, I don't know. It's James Gunn for sure. We'll say that. I'll definitely see it. I don't have any expectations, honestly. I think it could be good, but it could be a Guardians all over again. I am excited to see Lobo for sure. I'll say that. I just like Lobo as a character. But we'll see how that goes. But comic wise, though. I mean, yeah, Diamond is just a complete mess. They're not really even there anymore. They're pretty much done. Retail wise, I know, like, when I started, I was hoping to be in, like, tons of LCSs around the country, and all that kind of thing. I have to figure out that one still, because I have no expectations whatsoever at this point doing that. Definitely can't go the Diamond route. The what is it, Filbo distribution. He's doing some help with some indies. There's also
that's also questionable, and I don't have any issues with him. I know him briefly, but I got questions about it, and I think that they're fair questions. And at some point, I'll reach out to him, and he'll come on this show. There are fair questions to ask about his ideas and who he knows, and how that all works. But continue.
Yeah. And we'll figure that out, I think, as the year goes on, because that's still fresh too. I don't think he's been only doing it a couple months now, I think, with other indies and everything. So I know a couple guys that are doing it. So of course I'll be asking them about how it's going and what they expect for the future, because they're actually involved with it. But I'm definitely on the outskirts of all of that stuff. I'm just hearing what everybody else says that from afar as well. So I don't have any expectations for myself in that aspect. Comics, I mean, the absolute world in DC is like doing gangbusters. So I mean, it's not like the whole thing is down. Distribution because of Diamond is terrible, in that aspect. But yeah, Absolute Universe is like on the. I think I saw the other day, it was like 15 out of the top 30 was all Absolute Universe stuff, which is insane. A lot of that, Scott Snyder, like I was mentioning earlier, with his Batman, was a lot of those on the list. So I mean, I have hopes. There's definitely more readers because for a little while it was people wanting all the variant covers, and that was churning everything along because they expected it to be a big dollar amount. It's gonna be worth at some point, and now the variants aren't doing the same that they were. So now there's more readers coming out in the last couple years. I think honestly, the last year or two, from what I've seen and what I've heard. I've always been a reader, so I don't understand that one. That's always been my thing. That's why I'm a writer, because I love the stories. But yeah, I mean, it's all up in the air for sure. I have no idea. I'm just gonna keep on watching from afar on that aspect and just keep on doing what I'm doing as long as I have enough capital to do it. That's my take.
I mean, we also have the Netflix situation going on.
Yeah.
And there's the rumor, and I have a very different opinion than everybody else does on this. With Netflix, of them buying Warner Bros. Discovery. People say they don't want the DC Comics arm, and
Yeah.
but I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't want it either, to be honest, as a shareholder of that company, early shareholder of that company.
Yeah.
Bought out 177, rose up to 1300, stock split. Bought more today. Last time I told everybody to do this, you didn't listen to me, and I made a lot of money, and that's all I'm going to say here. But the point is that I don't blame Netflix for not wanting it, because it's because the studio doesn't translate into comics.
Yeah.
Those two things are actually uncorrelated. They have nothing to do with each other. A Batman Pop Funko is more closely correlated with the movie or anything, any studio DC project, than a comic book is. So no readers were obtained naturally from the Fantastic Four movie, but they were not. It wasn't massive. It wasn't like for every 10 people who saw it, we got 5 new readers reading Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four did great in the Marvel universe. Did great. Made a lot of money. Is overall good for the characters,
Right.
Not overall good for comics.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the problem, and that's why Netflix doesn't want it. And they'll either sell it or they'll just table it. And people think DC Comics is going to be shut down. And I'll be honest, I don't even know if it's such a bad thing. Given the fact that I mean, it's a bad thing if you're a writer there. It's a bad thing if you want DC stories. But as far as business goes, it's not horrible. I mean, if anything, it's going to make every DC comic book explode in value. Second shut down, which is good for me because I want to sell my books.
Right,
so if they down for 6 months, I'll cash out. I'll cash out $1 million worth of comics just like that.
Right.
And then I'll go buy I'll buy myself a nice McKellen 18, and I'll just watch the fire burn. But all jokes aside, I think it's a very interesting situation because I don't blame Netflix on a business decision for that, because it doesn't work with their position. And I think they'll just license it out. I think licensing out DC's characters and having Dynamite or having a Dark Horse do DC characters, or Marvel doing DC characters, what do we care? I mean, I don't think it's a problem. I don't. I actually think it'll be good for the industry.
It's an interesting idea, for sure. Yeah. I don't know.
Again, it'll be good for me. So
right.
So DC shutting down will be great for me. It'll be great for me. Both as a shareholder and just making comics finite and making them actually collector's items it'll be good overall. And also, I think it'd be interesting to just get like Dynamite's take on it, or get Dark Horse. It'd be fascinating to have Dark Horse doing Batman. It'd be so interesting.
Yeah,
and I would love to see what they would do. But they couldn't. It would be a DC universe, so it wouldn't be like Dark Horse meets Hellboy. It would be just Dark Horse's idea. They would get a license for like 5 years to do Batman and let them have at it. And I think it'd be great. I think it'd be such a cool shakeup. And I like when things get shaken up. And I like when We take ideas, we flip them upside down, and then we shake them up, and then we pour them over ice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole nostalgia of what you loved about it from the beginning, but yeah, totally different take. Still have like the essence of that character, but in a totally different way. That's always fun. I mean, like I said, Absolute Batman. That's why it's doing so well with all these different things. Is because it's taking what everyone loves, but shaking up all of the characters in a different way too. It's kind of nuts.
I also think it's indicative of the times. I think it so I haven't read all of Absolute Batman. I read the first 6.
Yeah.
But I thought it was greatly written, right? I think it's one of his better written things. Scott Snyder's better written things. In which that because we're taking a blue collar Bruce Wayne, who has some advantages. He's not completely disadvantaged. So let's be realistic here. But he's also fighting corporate greed. The villains are somewhat stealing from society, but they're not all stealing from society, but they have more advantages than not. And he does, and he has to use more brutality. He has to use more creative solutions. And it's very much the have-nots versus the haves.
Oh, yeah.
The best way I could describe it is that it's Survivor Davids versus Goliath. That is absolute Batman. That whole season of Survivor is absolute Batman, just in the Batman universe. And it's great because you're taking people who, and it's the idea of intellectualism versus smart versus strength. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's almost that power dynamic mixed with social commentary. It's brilliant because I think that if we were not in the times we were in the last 3-4 years, I don't think Absolute Batman would be as successful because I think it's indicative of the times and everybody is seeing it, no matter where you stand politically, because everybody's seeing it, and that's why it's great because it's just like I hate to use the word woke, but it was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, I mean that's how comics has always gone too. I mean, you got Marvel with X-Men. When X-Men started to become big, it was the whole mutant thing and the political climate of the time, and that's when it blew up. And it's also, of course, cool powers and cool bad guys and everything too. But it also has an underlying thing going on with the times. So
I agree, but I don't think Civil War, when Marvel Civil War came out, I don't know what that was underlying. But I enjoyed Civil War. Love Civil War. It's one of my favorite Marvel stories. Marvel Civil War. But like I don't know what was underlying with that. But the X-Men was civil rights and being different and being persecuted because of of something you can't change.
Yeah.
And all of that and being hunted down and killed and legislation prohibiting you. Absolutely agreed with that position on the X-Men. And like Absolute Batman is hitting that point. It's great. It's brilliant because everybody gets it, right? You read it, you're like, I get it. I understand. And it's very rare when it's crystal clear what this is and how everybody sees it. Doesn't mean you agree with the solution that you should throw somebody off of a bridge. That's not the answer here. I understand we have limited options here to deal with criminals in this world. I completely get it. I'm not saying we should be throwing people off bridges. I want to get crystal clear here. Right. It is not a guide how to deal with the problem. It is just highlighting the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you so choose to throw somebody off of a bridge, please do it in your time. Do not mention this podcast. Right. Do not mention it when you go to the police and you're in the interrogation room. I want nothing to do with you. I want to make that crystal clear. Right. This is not inspiration for that. And
that's not the idea, though.
I definitely frown upon that, and shame on you if you do that. Now, having said that, I believe I covered all my liabilities here, and partially some of yours too.
I don't agree with it either. Don't throw anybody off a bridge. There you go. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. We're good. We're good. So perfectly right there. But obviously, we've been speaking for a while, and I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Now that we potentially covered all our liabilities, we are perfectly safe, and we are litigation proof here. So as long as we're all in agreement there, I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Where can people find you? Back the campaign, check out the book. Obviously, follow you on other social medias because you got some other stuff coming. I know you have another one launching on something else as well.
Yep.
Probably after this one is done, you're probably gonna wait a few days and then, or maybe a month, and launch that one. So you got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yep. So we're live until next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Fog Within Volume 1. We are, I think, $200 off of minimum funding right now. So we're at that mark. We'll hit there. We'll be good. And I'm on all social media pretty much. You can find me anywhere as Sean Wood _writer. I'd love to chat about my book or comics in general. Or if you're trying to figure out Kickstarter, I'm always one to teach whatever I know. I don't know everything, but what I know, I'm willing to tell someone else about it too. Someone did it for me as well. And the next one I've got is my Recon universe. They're one shots set in different time periods with different people typically. And this one coming out it'll be March sometime. It's going to be called Recon and the Wild One. That's already pre-launch on Kickstarter now. And I'll keep on going with the Fog Within after that. And probably the next one after that will be Scaled Key issue 2. And I'll just keep on chugging along until I can, I have everything complete that I want to complete, which will take a while. So.
Well, I'm going to keep saying it is that you got to support people's projects. You got to check out what they're doing. If you like a project, you got to back it. You got to share it out. You got to like it. You got to tell people about it. You got to tell the creator that you like it, because it goes a long way. And then as far as I'm concerned, obviously this is my show. I like to promote myself. I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter /X. I am Pop Anime Comics on Instagram. I am Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I do stream and do a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I am Pop Anime Comics there. I got 2,000 plus videos, a lot of micro content, a lot of interviews, adding a lot of new stuff every single day. So please check that channel out if you are not already subscribed. Definitely helps if you do subscribe and like my videos and share them out, comment on it. All that stuff means a lot because it does help. Just giving it a like, it's free, definitely helps to grow the channel and let people know, hey, I'm here, we're doing cool stuff. And then the other thing also is that I run another show called Big Boy Card Collecting, and I open up packs. I talk about cards, baseball, hobby cards, Pokemon stuff, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, crack open packs. And I love talking about cards, and I love doing education with those cards. And I do teach a lot about this stuff, and I've broken down a lot of cool stuff. So yes, please check that out. That is Big Boy Card Collecting on YouTube. It's Instagram Big Boy Card Collecting, and pretty much if you type in Big Boy Card Collecting, you're gonna find me. And then the final thing I do is I have an eBay store. We look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, and we sell cards like this in my store. I sell cards like this in my store. Every once in a while, I get something like this in my store, which is a 101 Diana Taurasi, super expensive card. They do not stick around for very long, so when they go up, definitely buy it. And they are expensive cards. It is today, up to date, it is the most expensive card I have sold. Sold it for $1,000. In 23 minutes, didn't even have the card. And I cried when I had to pack it up. I felt really bad about selling it. But the money was really good on it. 70% rate of return in 23 minutes is really good.
Oh, yeah.
I cried. I'm not going to pretend here. I definitely cried. Because I know I'm never going to see that card again, and it's probably not going to come up for another like 20 years. So definitely felt that one. And then furthermore, I do sell comics like this. I sell books like this, and I sell books like this in my store as well. And then just a lot of other stuff winds up in my store all the time, like limited fives, other stuff. And I stated before, I do have an Ultimate Fallout 4 coming. It looks immaculate. It's a first print. It looks immaculate. And I have a price in mind. I'm thinking $300, $350, because the thing is going to grade out as a CGC 9.8. I mean, it's an immaculate cover. It's absolutely beautiful. It's been stored in an oak wood chest for the last like 6 years in its plastic wrap. It's a beautiful book. It looks fake. That's how good it looks. But it's real. It's real because I know I bought it. on the day it came out. So not the point though. Definitely if you're looking for that book, I got you covered, everybody. But I'm probably asking 300, 350 for it. So if you need an Ultimate Fallout 4, I got you. If you don't want it, no worries. It's probably going up tomorrow. So keep that in mind. And yeah, just check out my eBay store, everybody. So I got a lot of cool stuff. Got a lot of CGC books, everything you name it, I got it. And that's pretty much everything I got going on. So, I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah. Just appreciate it having me on, and I hope to see you again.
And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.